Welcome to yet another episode of the Maker Dad podcast. I'm your humble host, Josh, and tonight we're actually going to talk about um, how to actually enjoy being a maker with taking pride in your work and not really overthinking the whole entire process or the little bits and bobs that are part of it. So, what I mean by that is when you are starting up as like a maker, most of the time, pretty much almost anyone it starts up as a hobby. Let's say you want to do stamp collecting, or as in my case, be a woodworking, um, and setting up as a business. But the fact is that we start as a hobby and getting, the process going for learning the knowledge of creating the different items or the different projects and learning what works, what not to do, and going forward how to set apart or set get started with like the workflow so you don't waste material or waste too much material and it doesn't take as much time. And you have, let's say, for example, like cutting boards. I mean, everyone starts with cutting boards, right? So you want to get your materials ready to go. You get your pieces, of course, get the glue up, get that taken care of. You have to set up, okay, I can do out of this 5 foot section, I can do what, 2 or 3 cutting boards. So you have that set up in your mind that I have 3 cutting boards out of this one particular piece. I need 6. So I need to do another section for 3 more cutting boards. And it's just one of those things that you have to go through the whole process of figuring out how to do the thing that you want to get done. But the paradox of turning your hobby into a business is you have to get through the process of figuring out your workflow first. Um, because a lot of people would tell you that, hey, if you don't get the workflow done first, then what's going to happen is that you're going to spend more time on yeah, preparing the pieces and the process than it is to actually get the products out there and shipped or get them enough of them. So you want to do like a not flea market, a craft fair, or something along those lines, or Facebook Marketplace, that you have enough pieces to do this particular craft fair or whatnot. That you're not sitting there in an empty booth saying, "Well, I sold out," which is great, but you only had like 6 pieces to begin with, and you have 30 people that wanted to buy your products. Well, you kind of screwed yourself. So this is one of the processes that you have to think about as you're going through and figuring out, I want to turn my hobby into a business, and pretty much finding that balance between you have to do equality craftsmanship and saying, okay, I can work on this piece for an hour and then I work on it for another hour to get it perfect and another hour to get it even more perfect, where it's a little smudged on this side because the staining didn't quite do what I wanted to do. So you become stuck in like a perfectionism paralysis. And I've gotten in that sort of thing as well in my past couple of different projects where I felt that it wasn't ready. It wasn't ready for, to be posted out publicly. And I spent more and more time on trying to get it ready to be available to the public. And I have to sit back and it's like, and just think about it to yourself, is that I can spend countless hours of trying to get this perfect and I'll never be perfect and I'll never get it out there. And you have to call it like the line. It has to be at a certain point where it's good enough for your quality craftsmanship, but you're not stuck in that paralysis where it's okay, it looks great, let's push it out there. And it's something you have to just get the experience of doing this stuff over and over and over again, and to a point where it's just, you know, the best thing that you can do is not spend as much time as you really want to do on it, knowing that it's great. I don't know if that came across correctly for anyone who watches this or listens to this episode, but you have to figure out where that line is drawn on creating a great quality craftsmanship of a piece of work, and where it becomes you're stuck in creating something that is never going to achieve perfection in your eyes, because there's always going to be something that it's just going to need to be a little more work done on it, and you'll spend some more time on it. But again, like I said, is that it's just a technique that you have to figure out over time, and trying to figure out when is a project done enough. And you can't spend too much time. Let's say, for example, people you see all the time, like craft fairs, especially with woodworking. It's like birdhouses, or again with the example of the cutting boards or charcuterie boards. You got to think, how much time has that person spent on creating this particular product? Is it like an hour or 2 hours that they spent on this? And how much of that time is wasted that they could have done something else? So that's just something I have to constantly think about to myself, and hopefully for you as well, if you are in the process of figuring out how to get your hobby from being a hobby to being a successful business that starts to be earned a little bit more money every single time, until you can make a good standard of living from your business. So now, building a sustainable creative habits that, doesn't lead to burnout, because that's also another big thing. Is we can sit here and talk about, perfection and craftsmanship and stuff like that. One of the big another aspect that could affect your ability to actually enjoy your maker life and becoming a business is being burnt out from whatever it is that you do. If you do arts and crafts, that's a genre. But if you create artwork, or like, again, I'm going to use myself as more of an example, woodworking. It's something where that you have to get to the point where that if you're making 6,000 cutting boards every year, and you're getting tired of it, you're leading up to a point where you're becoming burnt out, and you say, I don't want to even look or think about cutting boards ever again. But you haven't set up a time to work on a different project that you might find more enjoyable. You're just more of like, I got to get cutting boards done, 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 and I have to have so many by this point of the year, that it's just no longer that your hobby and your business is, you hate it. It's now become like a full-time job where you hate every aspect of it, and you just become burnt out. You don't want to do it anymore. And that's part being learning, or actually I should say learning, of how to control yourself from becoming burnt out. And we can like I said, we can talk about craftsmanship and all sorts of stuff like that, but it's just a learned experience that you have to see the warning signs early enough, and kind of like steer yourself away, that you're not going to become one of these creators that hates what you do and you don't want to do it anymore. And excuse me, the joy is completely sucked out of the process, and it's just, like I said, you're more focused on the process of what it is that you're trying to push out or produce, and it's just the outcome is the more important factor than the actual building or the enjoyment of building whatever it is or creating whatever it is that you were doing to start your business with. And it's I seen it many times, especially when I look back at the creator space, live streaming and content creator space. People have sit there live streaming on Twitch or YouTube for hours, like 10 plus hours a day, for multiple days in a row, for the hopes and dreams of eventually making it big. True, one one out of a million do become part of the next level where they do hit the big time, but the majority, 99% of the time, it's the people burn themselves out. They do not enjoy the process. They hate it. They don't want to do anymore. They want to do something else. And it's just like I said, that joy is completely sucked out, and you lose all the will to do your creative endeavors. And it's unfortunate that it happens to so many people that you know it's it's a simple fact of that's the part and parcel of being a creative person, that you have to understand that you might become burnt out. You might hit that roadblock, that writer's block, where it's just something happens that, well, you can't get past it anymore. And for myself, I did hit that point as well, where I was, again, going back to the content creation days, uh, talking like I was, I'd say, like decades ago. It was just last year, is where I was creating these videos and these live streams, and it just got to the point where I'm just like, I don't want to do this anymore. It just got to the point where I was like, this is just becoming not really a routine, but more of a routine that it's I'm not enjoying the process. I wrote about this in a blog post, Matt, last month or 2 months ago, where I just did not enjoy the process. Uh, I would wake up or have look at my idea listing, and I'd be like, none of this is sparking joy anymore. I would like to do this, but I can't bring myself out to actually start up the Ecamm or and whatever I was looking at, and just get started in recording or live streaming the whole process and creating a tutorial or a guide or just explaining a new uh, widget or whatever. The point is that I got to a point where it's just I could not enjoy making the content anymore. It was just becoming more of a hassle, and I felt myself mentally fighting myself, and I hated feeling that way, where I was like, I can't do this anymore. So that's when I took I think it was a couple of months of several months of break time from doing anything at all. I just completely stepped away. I cleared out a couple not channels, but they're still up there. I didn't delete anything because it's valuable content, at least to several people. But the process of creating said content, I couldn't do it anymore, so I had to walk away. And I still enjoy learning about the different processes, what's the news, what's going on in that particular alternative platforms. Uh, so I'm still in there, but I'm not at the point where I'm like, I have to create a piece of content for this. or create a blog post saying, "Oh, latest Ecamm uh, update just came out today. Here's what's new," and create a video and start doing that. I'm like, this is great. There's many other people that do this. I just got tired of doing it. But what I don't get tired of is actually talking to you guys. And if you really enjoyed this episode, I really would enjoy seeing you giving it a 5-star review, the podcast as a whole, either through Spotify or Apple Podcasts. It really does. I do appreciate if you would do that for me. And also join the community at themakerdad.com. We have the blog post. I got the forum set up, and everything is all set, waiting for you. There's a couple of different things I'm still working on. Like I have a Patreon I created. I'm going to be posting the link to that, and just get that all set up and ready for you guys. But I do enjoy this little talk, and I'll see you on the next episode of the Maker Dad podcast. Until next time, later, taters.